Welcome to Down in SA, aka Down in San Antonio, Texas, that is. Here you will be a part of the lives of the cool kids who grew up here in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. From the music, culture, society, Big Red, hippo sodas, and breakfast tacos, you will learn the cool elements of our hidden society. So grab a long neck or a shot of tequila, light up a doobie, and say, screw the Alamo. This is who we really are, the cool kids down in SA. I'd like to welcome our audience today to Down in SA, which literally is down in San Antonio. I'm being joined by Lenny Surf Friedland, the one of the masterminds of Los Number 2 Dinners. He and I have a legacy in San Antonio, like many of you in the audience that are listening today, or those that have never been to San Antonio or grew up during the 60s, 70s, and 80s, and we're the cool kids. So we're going to talk a little bit about his years, whether it's junior high or high school, and the garage bands that he was listening to or that were part of San Antonio. Welcome to the show today, Lenny.
Very happy to be here. It's an honor and a pleasure. Like you told the folks out there, we go way back. We've known each other a long time. And
Last
so
century.
I'm happy to be here, and I'm ready to go whenever you are. Let's hit it.
So tell me about, we know that in San Antonio there was Kexel Radio, you know, we had Lou Roney, we had people that brought in heavy metal bands. You know, we kind of consider the heavy metal band birth of being in San Antonio, but all before that time, as growing up in junior high and high school, there were garage bands that were doing single songs, single press at small venues. And who were some of those bands that you remember from back then?
Okay, so, well, when I was a kid, and we're talking about the middle 60s, okay?
Right.
And of course, it was prior to and then after everything changed when the Beatles arrived, of course. But so the San Antonio bands I went to see back in those days said they were either surf bands, kind of copying the guys that played Wipeout and everything on the radio. And then there were the guys who were trying to copy the British invasion. And so there were bands like the Outcasts, the Chains, the Stoics, guys like that. There were some other guys, surf bands and stuff like that. And I would see them at the Teen Canteen or, different little funky places because, I was still a teen guy myself. I wasn't, going to growing up clubs where they serve booze. So those were some of the bands that I went to see. And of course, I caught the bug of rock and roll. And you were talking about radio stations. Back then, there was no FM really, until what you were talking about, starting in the 70s. But, in San Antonio, if you recall, it was like Kono, which was a KONO,
Right.
AM radio, and KTSA, also AM radio. But they played all the stuff that was popular and new. You could hear the Beatles and the Dave Clark Five and the Rolling Stones and, all that kind of stuff. It would come out on the AM radio, along with, the girl groups, Motown, all that kind of stuff. That's what we listened to, and then they started having like underground shows on the AM radios late at night, and they play Iron Butterfly and stuff like that, because that was the arrival of the San Francisco sound, psychedelic stuff, Vanilla Fudge, like I said, Iron Butterfly, Jefferson Airplane, all that kind of stuff.
Well, there's an interesting conjecture in what you're talking about, because at that time, I was throwing newspapers, and we have there at Fredericksburg, down at Ritterman Road, and Harry Wurzbach,
Mm-hmm.
and we'd get together there, because we'd throw Saturday morning, Sunday morning on our bikes, and we'd be like licking string and wrapping up the Express News of the San Antonio Light.
Yeah, my
And
cousin had a.
during the night, we
Yeah.
need somebody to bring a radio.
Right.
And we would listen to this program called Silhouette.
Uh-huh.
And Silhouette was, of all people, it was designed in part by Don Harris from Channel 4. His father was the minister at Castle Hills Baptist Church.
Mm-hmm.
And he got together with this Southern Baptist group, and they created Silhouette, and they played Vanilla Fudge. They played Janis Joplin. They played Iron Butterfly. And it was segue music, and they would bring in, you could call in and not give your real name.
What station are we talking about?
I believe that was KTSA at midnight.
Mm-hmm.
And you could call in. The DJ gave the disclaimer, you don't have to give your real name, but call in and tell us of what you're thinking as a teenager. Drugs, teen pregnancy, going into the draft, and these people would come on air. And Silhouette was like, it's a silhouette of who you are, but it's not the actual first person or image of who you really are. So you could hide behind that with a
Yeah.
fictitious name. That's what I remember when you're talking about the introduction of these heavy metal bands. That was one of the catalysts. And I found
Yeah.
that out one day when I was working with Don at Camwell when I first started my career in television. And somehow I got into this conversation, and he goes, K. Cruz, my father with the Southern Baptist group, they created that program. And I was like, wow, that was very progressive for a Baptist organization
Yeah.
to
No
do
kidding.
back then. So you go through these groups, you listen to them, you get the bug. Where do you go to next with that?
Well, going back to, pre-Beatles, we were, and by the way, my cousin had a paper route, and we used to all meet up at Hillcrest and Babcock. All the paper boys would show up. My cousin had a Cruiser motor scooter, like a Vespa,
Right.
and we'd sit there, and just like you guys, you can be middle of the night or early in the morning, on the weekends, listening to the radio, listen to KTSA, listen to Kono. I'd get on the back of the motor scooter, and he'd drive, and I'd throw the papers, of course, we listened to all that kind of stuff, like that surf stuff, and early stuff like Gloria and Louie Louie and all that kind of stuff. And so, I was itching to play the guitar, and my parents rented me one because they didn't trust me to stick with it. So it had a big number 30 written on the inside in marks a lot because it was rented. And I started banging on that thing, and then I saved up enough money. I'm still in middle school now, Longfellow Junior High, and met up with some other guys, and we started a band. It was a garage band, actually practiced in this guy's garage, and we called ourselves the Bums. And because we were kids, right? We just had sloppy clothes, we didn't look that good. I remember one guy had these weird shoes, and when he stood on the cement, he got shocked, so he sat on a ladder and played the guitar. And I'm like, dude, if we get a gig, you can't, we're not bringing a ladder for you to get some different shoes, And so we played all that kind of stuff, and that band went for a while, but then when we went to kind of split up. But then I got into another band with 3 other guys, and we called ourselves the Loved Ones. Now we're into the mod period, right?
Right.
Those white brushed blue Levi's, and we started playing, bar mitzvahs and little clubs and that. And I remember the bass player, I recruited him because he was my girlfriend's little brother, and he didn't drive, and he didn't know one end of the guitar from the other, but I kind of taught him. But my theory was girlfriend would have to drive him over to our band practice.
That was the perfect girlfriend with benefits.
That's right, exactly. And she tried to look Mary Ann Faithful, who was, real popular in the time with her big hit song, with the blonde bangs, and the dark eyeshadow, and she was blonde. I thought she was the hottest thing that ever walked. Anyway, so that band went on for a while, and then we busted up. Everybody went their different ways. And when I was at Jeff, then I got into another band with some guys, and I was the youngest. and that band was called Reading or Reading, off a Monopoly card, Reading Railroad. And we started playing the psychedelic clubs, on the Austin Highway, and we played Teen Canteen, and we played all over the joint. And then
So were
we
you
were still
guys
kind of,
playing covers, or had you already
yes,
started writing your
yes.
own lyrics? Covers?
We were starting to write our own songs, but I was the baby of the group, so it's like Ringo or something. You don't get to write a song or sing a song. You just play the guitar. But then I started coming up with my own songs, and finally we got some going. Kind of like you know George Harrison finally got to have a few songs. So anyway. And that went, but then they graduated and went either to Trinity or University of Texas. And that included, of course, the famous Don Evans. And he was in that band. And so that went on for a while. Then I graduated, moved up to Austin, and we all reunited. Then they morphed into what was called the Water Brothers, and opened for Velvet Underground at the was a place called on Congress, the Vulcan
Continental
Gas
Club?
Company. The Vulcan Gas Company. It
Oh,
was the
that's right.
precursor to the Armadillo.
Right.
And they had a bunch of bands, psychedelic band, rock bands going through there. Austin, the UT was like an oasis in the middle of Texas. And all those bands would come, and all the blues guys played there too. And that's when I kind of got turned on to the blues. And, I hadn't heard much about them until then. But we started seeing Lightning Hopkins, Albert Collins, Albert King, Mance Lipscomb, all of Freddie King, every guitar player that ever played copied. And anyway, so that went on for a while, and that busted up. And then I went into full surf mode the rest of my college career and working for the Hilton and all that. And then I guess around 78 or something, 79 is when we started playing and that started off as a joke. It was Rudy Sanchez and I were living in Austin and banging on guitars. So we started making up some songs, which included Quiero un Camaro and Down in SA and all that kind of stuff, right? Get It Up, our famous underground hit. And George Horner, remember him? And buddies of mine, they had an art gallery, and they used to have different musicians come in there, and they asked me if I'd go over there, me and Rudy, and play some songs. And then we decided, well, why don't we do this electric? And so we got Don on the drums, and we got Frank on the guitar, and Norman on the maracas, because we were all high school buds or college buds or whatever.
Right.
And we showed up, and keep in mind that this was at the height of disco in '79.
I remember
we were leading the anti-disco charge, We're like, and so we set up and we started playing, and like a bazillion people showed up. I don't know why, but it was so crowded in there, and we didn't know what was going on. And so that was it. That was the beginning, and we were booked ever since.
So how did you come up with the Los Number 2 dinners? I mean, because that was the opening. Like, what was it? You guys just sitting there having breakfast at the Blanco Cafe, or what?
Well, Rudy and I were in Austin, okay, so we were kind of homesick, so we would make up these goofy songs about San Antonio, like Quiero un Camaro and blah blah blah. So we decided on. And we were going to play at that art gallery. We need a name for the band. So, it just started as a joke. I just said, well, how about something off of the Mexican, restaurant menu? And I thought, well, I don't want to be the number one dinners because that's cocky, So let's make it number 2, and that was it, and then Norman started making all those great posters, and T-shirts, and Then another event that really catapulted us. I don't know if I've ever told you this story or not, but a buddy of mine who is a writer for Texas Monthly stationed himself in San Antonio because he was doing an article. About San Antonio, and we were real tight buddies up in Austin, right? And matter of fact, we were dating sisters at the time. And so he's in San Antonio. He rents some little funky apartment, and meanwhile, it was Halloween, and some weird friend of ours was going to house sit for some people in Castle Hills. And those people hadn't even left for the airport. He started making plans for a Halloween party at their house. And so I told this buddy of mine, who's a writer, that he ought to come to the party. I didn't know what to expect, but he wasn't doing anything. So I went and picked him up and took him to the party. When we got there, everything was set up in these people's garage so we wouldn't destroy the house, which is good. That's where I came from, the garage,
Yeah.
So, but the party, it was Halloween, right? So people were like dressed super weird. It was dark. We had a strobe light going on. There were joints dangling from balloons that were floating through the room. So you'd like take a puff and then let it drift to somebody else. And there was somebody had smuggled some nitrous oxide tanks from the dental school, and everybody was high on that crap. And boozed up. Of course, everybody's drinking beer and wine,
This is San Antonio cool. I mean, this is what
it was just out of control.
Don't even have an idea of how cool we were back then.
Oh yeah, and amazingly, the police never showed up. I don't know how they avoided that, especially in Castle Hills. But
right? Yeah.
So this writer guy, his name is Richard West, fantastic writer. Anyway, his buddy was Jerry Goldstein here in San Antonio, the famous criminal defense attorney that I wound up being a law clerk for. But he told Goldstein, he and another guy named Jay Monday owned a friendly spot. And Richard West tells Goldstein, hey, man, you got to hire these guys, Oh, that was the other thing. At the Halloween party was thrown by a friend of my younger brother. And he showed up with a bag of Maui Zowie straight from Hawaii, and to add to the nitrous oxide.
The social cocktail had arrived, man.
Oh, yeah. And so this guy, my friend, he thought that was the wildest thing he'd ever seen. So he told Goldstein, hey, you need to hire these guys, man. So we started playing at the friendly spot. And I remember we had to make the big decision there because someone stole the PA system from the place. And we had to make a big decision. Well, we're going to invest in the PA or we're just going to call it quits. And we said, well, let's give it a shot. And so we got a little PA system, started playing the friendly spot. And then they had the big, what I termed the friendly shot when there was you've probably heard about it. I still have a copy of the police report.
I was down there that night. I was down there.
Yeah, so many people showed up. South Alamo, you couldn't drive. It was full of people, It's like going crazy. Ran out of beer. My whole pickup truck was used to put all the beer cans in and ice and beers. And it was just out of control. And the police showed up, of course, and shut the whole thing down. They arrested a bunch of people. Had a paddy wagon because they didn't have enough police cars. They said, we only arrested people that were urinating in public. And that was like 7 men and 3 women. I was like, what? But of course, Goldstein, he's a lawyer, right? So he got everything all smoothed over and there wasn't much trouble. And we moved years later, we moved next door to the Beauregard. Remember that was right next door to the friendly spot. We started playing there. And, there was even an article, not by my friend West, because he had moved on by then, but there was an article in Texas Monthly about famous feuds. I think Joe Nick Petoskey wrote it. But anyway, it was about these people who lived in King William that were bitching about our band in the friendly spot, and they never took it out on us. As a matter of fact, the woman said, well, I love their band. It's just that they're too loud. You can hear them 4 blocks away. And all these people pass out in our front yard and urinate on my plants,
But everybody's
And,
still friendly in that
oh,
time
yeah,
period in San Antonio.
even when
Everybody
they
was
were
cool.
mad at each other, they were like, well, we love that band, but, God damn it, we want to go to sleep. And so anyway, that catapulted us into my friend West dubbing us in Texas Monthly as the best of or whatever they publish every year, and
Right.
we were like best local band in Texas. And these photographers showed up at the friendly spot or took pictures, and we were like, we still was like, this is a joke. I mean, we're just screwing around. Because you go way back, all those guys I named, Norman, Don, Frank, what
Yeah.
used to be the Scrotum Club, if you remember that. Anyway, we just
So
got swept. We just got swept along in the craziness, and then we started cutting 45s that we, had written.
right.
Joey Records, Zaw Studios on the west side of town made, like 6 singles, I think. And the rest is history. I mean, that was in 79, 80.
So I got 2 questions. One, for the people who don't know about the friendly shot, take us to that moment when that gunshot went off, what the circumstances were surrounding that.
Okay, so these guys that used to follow our band, and they became their self-appointed, our bodyguards. They called themselves the King. I dubbed them their name, the King William Warriors. And these guys were sitting at a table. They had like picnic benches, and they were both drunk, and they got pissed off at each other. And one guy pulled out a little Saturday Night Special, but he didn't shoot it. He hit the other guy in the head. The other guy fell and hit his head on the corner of the table, and blood started going everywhere. Well, everyone thought that he got shot, and so the guy who shot threw the gun down and started running down the street, and the King William Warriors chased him and grabbed him, called the cops, went over there. Meanwhile, the EMS showed up and they're like, this guy didn't get shot. And he even said, hey, no, he didn't shoot me. We were, he just hit me in the head. And so that turned into a big deal and hit the press, and next thing you know, it's in the paper. Are these guys bad boys of rock and roll, blah, 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 and I was like, it turned into, much ado about nothing. And that's why I called it, instead of the friendly spot, I called it the friendly shot. But a lot of people will say, yeah, I was there that night. I remember that. I was crazy, And I remember we were playing when the shot went off. And I remember, Rudy, everyone started running, it was like total panic. And Rudy started running, but he didn't unplug his guitar. And he pulled over his whole amplifier, and it hit the ground and started making this screeching feedback. We couldn't get it turned off, right when the police arrived, and people running, and I was like, oh my God, this is Altamont, what the hell's going on here? And that's it, I mean, again, it was just a fluke.
Right. Yeah. It seems like the whole career of Los Number Two Dinners, all the way through all your other bands, just seemed like there was always like this accidental promotion of chaos and curiosity and just the style of music that just perpetuated you guys to being, I mean, considered the greatest garage band of all time outside of San Antonio. And I'm going to close it out here, but I do want to ask you this one last question, and then we'll come back for our audience out there and speak with Lenny later about other aspects of the culture and the society and the music of San Antonio. But like I mentioned the other day in a brief conversation, it seems like the song Party Animal was like the flagship song. And how did you come about writing that? Was it a result of the friendly shot, or had it already been in the...
No. Yeah. Well, I don't know. I was just banging on the guitar one time, and quite honestly, I was thinking of our friend Abel.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Abel, good
Uh,
friend of ours, everybody. He recently passed, like one
yeah,
of the
just this last
nicest,
week.
coolest guys you could ever hang out with in San Antonio. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
Right. So I was thinking of Abel because he used to show up, with the Pugliese brothers, and everybody was, bombed, and he would say, hey, let's hit it. That was, remember him? He used to always say, let's hit it. And just he was a party monster. And so I'm banging around in my house, and I was like, party animal, party animal. By the way, yeah,
party
exactly.
Animal. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, later in our career, on one of our CDs, I wrote a song called "Party Down, Party Town," and that name started off name checking Abel because he had a party in his backyard one time over by Frank's house, by our high school, right? And we played in the backyard, and of course the police showed up, and. People who would come follow us, it was like the red badge of courage. Hey, man, I was at the party and the dinners were playing and the cops showed up. Well, it's like, so what's new with that? We got popped everywhere we played.
So would that influence you to become an Esquire? You just figured I might as well be a lawyer so I can just protect myself?
No. I was twiddling my thumbs in Austin, not sure really what I was going to do. I had worked for the Hilton for a number of years, and some friends of mine were lawyers, and I was like, shit, if they could do it, I could do it. And I had worked,
law,
it was 8 years. Yeah, it was 8 years after college when I decided to go to law school. I went in there with a number 2 pencil. I was older than everybody there. And anyway, that was it.
Well, look, we're going to close it out. Thank you so much for taking time with us here, Lenny. And like I mentioned to the audience, we'll revisit Lenny down the line. Thank you for joining us here down in SA. And now you know a little bit about the history of the Cool Kids, garage band, tripping, and development of how things progressed in the late 60s and early 70s and what have you. But take care of yourself. Super Bowl's tomorrow. I'm going to go with the Seahawks. You got any picks?
Yeah, I'm with you, man. I think Sam Darnold, I'm happy for him. He was in the same draft as Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, and all those hot shots. And, Darnold's got bounced around. Now it's his turn to try to,
Right. It's awesome.
And I don't know if we're ready for another Patriots dynasty. We just finished with one.
Yeah. Sorry the Texans couldn't get in there, but hey, we'll go with the West. They're the best. Seahawks all the way.
There you go. And thank you again for having me on your show because, like I said, we go back. We also share our love of the ocean surfing. So
absolutely. We'll talk about Port A. We'll talk about cars. We'll talk about the Eastwood Country Club and San Antonio Dragon Raceway and all the things.
Absolutely. And as you well know, the California lifestyle and car culture, Rat Fink, Big Daddy Roth, and all that business, that was all part of what I grew up digging.
Oh, yeah. Some of the best drag racers in the world came through here. Don Prudhomme, Big Daddy Don Harlot's.
That's right.
Roland Leong, the Hawaiian, Kelly Chadwick. I mean, Green Monster. We can talk about that on another day, man. Much love to you. Take care. And we'll chat again soon.
Thanks again, bro. Later.
Aloha. Peace.
Aloha.
to